Hey there everybody, how's it going? Nice to see you again. Thanks for coming out today. Okay, so the ice is in the river and the temperature is about 35 degrees, so broke out the old winter gear and all like that. So the K3 Mark III Monochrome, well, the decision is in. And there's things I really don't like about the camera itself compared to the K1 Mark II, okay? I don't like the button placement, things like that. The K1 Mark II is more efficient. K3 Mark III, you know, the good news is I moved a bunch of the buttons and you can set the K3 Mark III buttons in typical Pentax fashion to anything you want. And so I was able to make my K3 Mark III kind of mimic the K1 Mark II, so it's easier to transition between the two. The salient point there is that I'm copying the K1 Mark II layout. Okay, I'm not copying the K3 Mark III layout on the K1 Mark II. Anybody who has both cameras, a K3 Mark III and a K1 Mark II, you might know what I'm talking about. But I'll show you what I did. So in case you have both cameras and you're wondering, you know, but you've probably already done it. But anyway. So the buttons I moved around on the K3 Mark III is I took the lock button and I turned that into one press live view. And so all I have to do, just like the K1. Okay, and the other button I swapped is right here, and I don't like the replay button there. So this makes a one thumb operation. I can zoom in and then zoom around. So that button there I turned into playback, and then the playback button I turned into what that button was, which is the brightness of the rear screen. Okay, so as far as the monochrome sensor is concerned, the K3 Mark III is everything, the K3 Mark III monochrome is everything that a K3 Mark III is. Great autofocus, comparable to the Nikon D500. They just came out with a firmware update for it a couple months ago that really made it zippy. The camera's built like a tank. It's weather sealed in typical Pentax spectacular fashion. It's very solid. There's a whole bunch of really nice limited lenses for it, etc., etc. Camera's a pleasure to use. Battery life is great. The optical viewfinder is spectacular. The LCD on the back, live view is really great. It's a pleasure to use. It just annoys you every time you use it because there's no tilting screen to bang that point home a little bit more. But what is the key to a monochrome sensor? And this is really the big question, and the question that I've been trying to answer. What is the key difference between a monochrome sensor and a bare color filter sensor? What are the advantages? Well, the advantages are the resolution is better, okay? What is the resolution like if you want to try to wrap your head around it and you don't have a monochrome camera handy? K3 Mark III in pixel shift. That kind of mimics what the resolution you can expect from the native files of a K3 Mark III monochrome, okay? Think about it for a minute and you'll understand. Pixel shift, like, okay, so a K3 Mark III color sensor camera, red, green, green, blue, and then the computer interpolates what that means in terms, you know, so it gets splotchy, okay, at a pixel level. K3 Mark III monochrome doesn't do that. This is this tone, that's that tone, this is this tone, that's that tone, bang, there's your image. There's no interpolation. So when you do pixel shift, you know, it takes red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, merges them all together. So, okay, it's a lot of fancy processing, but you're kind of mimicking what the K3 Mark III monochrome sensor does natively. So maybe that's confused everybody more. Maybe it'll help you understand what kind of resolution you're looking at. In practical terms, the resolution out of the K3 Mark III, I'm sounding like a New Yorker now, the resolution out of the K3 Mark III monochrome is very similar to the resolution out of the K1 Mark II. I think the K3 Mark III monochrome is a little bit better. It might have something to do with the fact that there's a lot less noise. But so if that helps quantify it for somebody what they can expect. Which leads me on to the second attribute of a monochrome sensor is the lack of noise. Like we're talking ISO, high ISOs, we're talking 6,400, 12,000, 25,000, 50,000 is all usable now, which is, you know, couple that with the shake reduction, IBIS, in-body image stabilization. This is a nighttime low light handheld monster of a camera. Okay, it's fun just walking around in pitch darkness and taking pictures of buildings downtown. I mean, absolutely, the lack of noise and the smoothness of the images and the accuracy of the tonality, it's just spectacular camera to shoot with, which leads me to the third major attribute of the K3 Mark III monochrome, and that is the absolute accurate film-like tonality response, which you just really can't replicate in a color filter sensor camera. You can get close, but you're guessing. And the thing is, black and white photography lives or dies by the interplay of the tonality. It's gotta be right. And that's what you're striving for when you're a black and white photographer, is making the tonality absolutely, getting that nth degree out of it, which film does natively, and the K3 Mark III monochrome sensor does natively. See my video, which I'll link. I do this so rarely, it's up here somewhere. See my video, the last one I made, 8x10 FP4 Plus film versus the K3 Mark III monochrome. That video kind of blew me away. So I'm still wrapping my head around the K3 Mark III monochrome, but I have used it enough and have tested it enough to know that I absolutely have to shoot with this camera for my black and white work. So it's because of all these reasons that, yeah, the K3 Mark III monochrome, yeah, I just have to shoot with it. The few things I don't like, doesn't have a tilt screen, covered that, beat that to death, sorry. And then the lack of aspect ratios, which Pentax Ricoh can fix with firmware. So Pentax Ricoh, if you're listening, even just give me the bars that the K1 Mark II has to show me what a square looks like. Ideally, it would be also coupled with cropping the JPEG. Don't crop the RAW like Nikon does, that's a deal buster. I'd start shooting Fuji black and white because, okay, don't do that, which they won't because they're not stupid. But crop the JPEGs, 1:1 would be awesome. I'd love 1:1, I'd love 3:4, I'd love 4:5. There's no, I mean, that's just software, that's just programming. So give me some aspect ratios. The K1's not bad, it's totally usable. 1:1's the big one. I like to shoot square. So, and particularly in black and white. Like, yeah, and here's the thing, with 26 megapixels, when you're shooting a square, it's like 17 megapixels. It's totally usable. It's totally nice. I mean, it's no problem. On the K1 Mark II, it's 36 megapixels. When you crop it, I think it's like 32 megapixels for the square. It's fantastic. It might be 26. I don't know. I forget. I haven't done it in a while. But yeah, so the bottom line comes down to, I have to shoot the K3 Mark III monochrome. There's just nothing else like it. All bets are off if Fuji comes up with a X Pro 4 and monochrome. But until then, this is where I'm at. Hey, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you out here. Have a great one.